Hello everyone. How's my audio? Christy asks, isn't a little early for things to be starting? I'm not at the event right now. The event starts at 2, supposedly. I'm just giving a little bit of my thoughts on things lately here. So it looks like audio is good. That's great. So I titled this A Call to Reason, Discipline, and I can't remember the third thing I said. I don't know. Anyways, I'm tired of what I'm seeing in the country. I'm new to this game. I'm new to the Patriot crowd and all that kind of stuff. I've been doing this for about a year and a half now. And if you followed my story, you know that how I got involved in this was that I lived in downtown Portland. I saw the George Floyd events, and I had seen a little bit of Antifa and their tactics over the last years before that, but I never really paid attention to them too much. But when the George Floyd event happened and they were rioting in Minneapolis, I was pretty sure that was going to happen in Portland. And I went to some political speeches. I saw Joanne Hardesty speak 2 days in a row. And her rhetoric was basically a call for violence without actually calling for violence. Look at this cool snail. But, and I went out and filmed the riots in Portland. And what really, really disturbed me was two things: that there was mobs of people acting like craven lunatics, and also that the news was painting an entirely untruthful story. And it kind of like shattered my conception of mainstream media. I then went up to CHOP for kind of two reasons in Seattle last summer. I went up there, one, to see if the news reports from the right and the left news outlets were true or if they were just lying about it. They were lying. Nothing the news media said about CHOP was true. I went up there and saw it myself. I also went up there because I thought it was stupid, and I went up there to troll them. And everything changed there for me because I saw them shoot up two black teenage boys, and I held one and took him to the hospital. And that's how I got started in all this. And it's been like a year and a half of near insanity. I guess not even a year and a half, just a little over a year. And I've been trying to make sense of all this. And I've been pushed around one way and that way. And what I want to talk about is the Patriot movement. I don't use the term patriot for myself as an identity, as a descriptor of who I am. I consider myself patriotic. I love the fact that I get to live in America. I love this country. I love the opportunities and the safety it offers to me and everybody here. I love that. But I'm more and more seeing the crowd of people that like identify with patriot as their dominant identity. I'm starting to have a hard time with a lot of things I'm seeing in there. More and more that crowd, actors in that crowd, individuals, are acting like Antifa, and they're getting away with it. They're attacking journalists. They're attacking cameras. They want to go out and get their desires accomplished by violence, not self-defense, but like revenge. And I understand all that. I understand that. If you watch all the things that Antifa has been doing the last couple years, last 5-6 years, it's very, very demoralizing. And the more we see big city police departments stepping down and allowing them to do these craven criminal actions and allowing them to be fascists who get to say who gets to do what in their city, our cities. You see them block people from entering public buildings for city government events. and the city government doesn't do anything about that. You see more and more the people that are trying to stand up for Antifa are the ones getting targeted with criminal charges and arrest. Alan Swinney's been in jail for over a year now. You can say whatever you want about if he should or should not have done what he did. He pulled a revolver out at the Battle of Portland 2 last summer and pointed it at people. My opinion is that you shouldn't point guns at people unless you're going to shoot them, and you shouldn't do that unless it's a life and death emergency. But I also don't think that pointing a gun at somebody is something subject to a year in prison. That's insane. Like, there are people that are throwing Molotov cocktails at police, trying to burn down federal buildings, sieging federal buildings. And most of those people don't even get prosecuted. So I guess what I'm trying to get down to on what I'm trying to say is that what is the conservative movement doing? Are the things that they've been doing the last couple of years profitable? Are the Patriots winning? Are they accomplishing their goals? And I'll just say my point of view flat out, no. The conservative side of America is losing more and more. And I think it's due to a couple things. I think that movement is allowing people that are looking for attention and people that stir up drama and cause problems where problems don't need to be caused. That movement is allowing those actors to do great damage to the movement. The fight for our freedom in our country it's not a game. It's not something to get attention for. It's not something to mock, and it's not like a LARPing game. And our fight as American citizens that love our country isn't really with Antifa. It's not really Black Lives Matter. Those groups are just people that are being used by the government. Most of them are young kids in high school, fresh out of college, in college, that don't know anything yet. They're bleeding heart liberals with their heart on their sleeves, and they're clueless. A lot of them have familial identity disorders. They've got sexual disorders. They've got drug addictions, and a lot of grown men in the country are like seeing them as the greatest threat to our freedoms and our way of life, but it's not true. The government is becoming corrupt. The government is what's taking our freedoms away. The government is what's destroying our way of life. There's more and more tyrants in our government. Like, look at January 6th. One day, most of the people at that crowd were just observers. Most of the people that entered the Capitol, from what I've seen, were just parading through the Capitol. That's actually a federal crime to parade in a federal building, which is insane. Even though when leftists hold protests and they parade in the Capitol or other federal buildings, nothing happens. There were dozens and dozens, a few hundred people that were actually violently attacking officers that day. And I see that from two perspectives. One is, how long are the people going to accept tyrants controlling them and taking their rights away? How long? How long? Like, what do you do when the political avenues are no longer being respected and the people are not being listened to by their political representatives? What do you do? When do we cross the line to violence? The Constitution is clear. We, the people, have the right to overthrow a tyrannical government. We are a society based on the people's rule, not the elite's rule, not the tyrant's rule by the people. So at some point, when our elected representatives, when our systems of government, when the people in power are no longer listening to the people and they're controlling us and taking our rights away and telling us what we can and cannot do in our personal private lives, when do we reach that threshold? On a different perspective on the Capitol, all the people that were there being violent and thinking they're going to storm the Capitol, and they thought they were going to take over the Capitol building and take over the government, they were unarmed. What were you guys thinking? Did you really think that you were going to take over one of the most secured, protective buildings in the country, if not the world? You really thought that you were going to take over the U.S. Capitol building unarmed, unorganized. It was not an organized event like all these conspiracy theories are saying. It was a populist uprising. They showed up because they were mad about the election, and there was no central organizing factor there. It was many, many Americans coming out on their own, small little groups collecting, but no great plan there. So what I'm trying to say is that the patriot crowd or the conservative crowd, the people in America that love their country and love their way of life, love their freedom, and want to keep peace, I don't think that the things that have been going on the last couple of years, going out and provoking Antifa, provoking the government, picking fights, going out to the Capitol and breaking into the building unarmed with no plan, that stuff's foolish. It accomplishes nothing other than to get people in prison. Look at Rufio. Rufio is one of the spotlight figure Proud Boys. I've met him. He seems like a good dude to me. You can see that famous video where he gets he went famous from in Portland, where the anarchists were attacking a Patriot Prayer event and ended up in a street brawl. People came up to him and he blocks the guy's nightstick and knocks him out. And then a woman steps up to him. In the middle of that battle, while people are attacking him on all sides, a woman steps up to him and gets in his face, and he starts to punch her, and he realizes he's a woman, and then he stops. That's discipline. So Rufio has kids. Rufio's a good guy, and he's been rotting in federal prison for more than half a year now, just for being at the Capitol. I haven't seen any evidence that he was violent there, anything like that. They're just holding him because he was a Proud Boy, and they're calling him the Sergeant of Arms. They're calling him some military insurgent leader, which is ludicrous. It's nonsense. But what I'm saying is the things that the Patriots have been doing, that crowd for the last 5 years, all it's doing is getting conservatives and husbands, fathers, good men thrown in prison. We're not winning. And I say we, I'm a centrist. And for all of you that keep calling me Antifa, I have never been Antifa. I will never be Antifa. I hate those people. I actually think they do have some points. Like, they're fighting the government. We should be banding together, both sides, and fighting the government. The government is getting corrupt and corrupt and corrupt. But they attack innocent people. They damage other people's property. They indiscriminately attack cops. It's ludicrous. They're horrible, craven lunatics. I've never been them. I never will be them. But the conservative side, the pushback towards this Antifa BLM violence that's going on those last couple of years, it's not working. Having these flag waves, it's not doing anything. Having these battles in the streets, it's not doing anything. It doesn't change anything. Look at the difference between the Battle of Portland last year and where we are today. I think about a month before the Battle of Portland 2 last summer, there was an event called Oregonians for Peace at the Tom McCall waterfront. Maybe 300 people showed up, roughly. There was also a group of Antifa that showed up. There's about 12 of them, I think. They stood off like 100 yards away from the event at a tree, and they were just kind of being menacing. But they didn't engage. They didn't do anything. A year later, at the same place, Tom McCall waterfront, on August 7th, Antifa marches in with about 30 people. They throw a bomb into the crowd. They throw smoke bombs. They start macing people. They grab all their sound equipment and throw it in the river. Nothing happened to them. Nobody fought back. No arrests were made. None of them has been charged or apprehended. Nothing happened. They've only grown in their craven lunacy and their boldness and what they think they can get away with. The police have openly said they're no longer going to intervene. They're just not. People were calling 911 and police aren't responding to those events. Portland Police Bureau and Ted Wheeler is giving this PR claim that, like, oh, because the number of the police are so down, all we can respond to is robberies and murders and rapes. But if there's a Christian speaking event in a public place in the city, and 30 gang members all dressed in black clad from head to toe come in and throw bombs at people where children are present, they're macing people, they destroy people's property. If that's not the time for the police to step in, when is? So that PR crap that they're pushing, they're like, oh, we have to deal with all the rapes and the shootings. No, if that wasn't the time for the police to respond, when was? I also want to address the conservative movement about their stance on the police. This back to blue stuff, this thin blue line stuff, I don't buy that at all. It's just as stupid as all cops are bastards. Both extremes are stupid. If you're not aware of how many police in this country are corrupt and control freaks and have anger issues and they brutalize citizens, if you're not aware that police across the board, in general, will follow any order they're given, you need to come to terms with that. It's simply not true that everybody that puts a badge on and puts a uniform on is a good person. It's not true. And even the people that seem like they're a good person, if you're willing to shut down a barber shop and you won't let people cut hair because some health authority says that they can't make their own decisions, if you're an officer that's willing to follow orders to shut down someone's livelihood, to tell people they can't go in a grocery store, to violently tase people that are trying to speak at a public event, arrest people that are fighting back against criminals. How many times in this last year have you guys seen people that are fighting back? They are using self-defense, and they're the ones that get arrested. You see these events where Antifa comes up and they push the brink. They do that little kid thing like, I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you. But they're putting their chest in you, they're blocking your path, they're surrounding you, and then somebody defends themselves. And that person, because they technically threw the first punch, even though they were surrounded by a mob and their life was in danger, they pull the first punch or they pull a weapon in self-defense, they are the ones that go to jail. The police officers are the ones that are agreeing to process those orders from our corrupt politicians. So today we're supposed to have, it's basically Battle of Portland 3. I'm not sure if anything's going to happen today because they've moved the event, and we'll see if Antifa comes out from downtown where the event was originally happened or scheduled to the place that the event's going to be. I'm not going to announce that address. If you want to find it, you can find it through other means. We'll see if Antifa shows up to that. And if they do show up to it, it'll show that Antifa is the one seeking violence. But the same thing happened last year at the Delta Park event, the Proud Boys event. That was originally supposed to be downtown Portland. And because of all the rhetoric from the politicians calling them white supremacists, bigots, hateful white nationalists, they moved it to Delta Park, which is on the outskirts of Portland. And you would have to go far out of your way to get there. And a large group of Antifa did come to it. The police kept them on the other side of the highway and they weren't allowed to get into the event. But some of them came into the event. But the same thing today. We're moving the event to an undisclosed location at this time, and we'll see if Antifa shows up. But I have met a lot of people in the so-called patriot movement in the political Pacific Northwest and across the country. And I've made some good friends. I've met some good people. I've met some people that I would trust to have my back in a dangerous moment. And I don't want to see you guys going to jail for stupid things. I know some of you that I think are great people and you have kids. I don't want to see you going to prison for something stupid. Like, what was accomplished last year at the Battle of Portland 2? Like, honestly, we need to ask ourselves these serious, honest questions. What was accomplished that day? As far as I can tell, it just energized Antifa. It made them feel more bold and brazen. Discipline needs to happen. And I want to talk to the Proud Boys. And it's not really my place because I'm not a Proud Boy. It's not my organization, but I have interacted with them. I met several of them. I'll say this first. If you guys believe the media and all these leftists, that these Proud Boys are these crazy, violent, white supremacist, bigoted racists, it's BS. It's all a lie. The Proud Boys were created as a response to BLM Antifa attacking people at speaking events and attacking people in the streets and their political violence. The Proud Boys were created to protect speakers walking to and from speaking events. Like situations like Ben Shapiro trying to go to Berkeley and then a riot happens just because those fascists don't think that he should be allowed to talk. The Proud Boys have a noble goal. They are honorable in their goal. They are simply trying to protect people and stop political violence by the fascist Fashtifa. Thanks. I'm going to steal that from Chris Ponte. I watched his video last night. He was talking about some of the same stuff I'm talking about. He's just tired of all the drama on both sides. But he coined that term, Fashtifa, the Fashtifa. But this whole bullshit that Proud Boys are some racist, horrible, bigoted group. You take the time to look in it for yourself. You don't have to take my word for it. There's hundreds and hundreds, thousands of videos online about Proud Boy Antifa interactions the last few years, Antifa violence. Look through it yourself. You'll come to the same conclusion. Proud Boys is not a racist, bigoted organization. What you can say about them is they're a little bit different to me. I probably wouldn't hang out with a bunch of them. I'm not the kind of guy, I'm not the kind of man that like sits down and watches a football game and drinks a beer. These are salt of the earth guys. These are the kind of guys that work construction, like pour your concrete foundations. They work on oil rigs, those kind of guys. Like the rough guys that make the world work. And we need those guys. You might not have the same personality with them. Some of them can be described as like wild hillbillies. Not all of them. There's some very disciplined, like religious people that are Proud Boys across the country too. But this whole slandering them, like if you believe that stuff, take the time to investigate it. Take the time to look into it for yourself. Go find a Proud Boy and meet them. You will find that the media and these politicians are just lying through their teeth. So that's my next point. Like the same thing that happened last year at the Delta Park event is happening with our politicians today. Kate Brown, Joanne Hardesty, Ted Wheeler, so quote unquote community leaders are in the Oregonian and other local newspapers to the Portland, Oregon, are saying that violent, far-right extremists, racist, white nationalists, white supremacists are planning to come do violence in Portland this weekend. And they don't mention Antifa. They don't mention BLM. They don't mention the hundreds and hundreds of days of rioting, arson, looting, attacks, murder, assault. Just conveniently, Ted Wheeler just conveniently doesn't mention any of that. And it's just all these white supremacists that are supposedly coming into downtown Portland and the Nazis are coming. It's ludicrous. And I'll try to... I want to try not to judge another person's heart and their intentions, their motives, but either these politicians are deceptive, disgusting liars trying to manipulate you and control the population, or they are inept, incapable, ignorant idiots. There's just no way around it. The truth is that the right-wing crowd is a reaction to the violent left. And they are far, far left violent. There's very, very few instances where you can see them going to a left-wing event and assaulting it and disrupting it. There's very, very few events where you can see the right initiating violence with the left. It's almost always the left thinking that they're Mao or Stalin or whatever their ideas of who they should be and their right to tell other people what they can say and where they can go and what they do. So with all that said, my goal is to call for discipline, to call for reason, to call for just honor. We've got to stop doing this reactionary thing. There's many people in the U.S. that are calling themselves reactionaries right now. It's actually becoming a political stance. So I'm a reactionary. But you know what reactionary means? That means other people control you. It's like an involuntary reaction, like a knee bounce reflex when the doctor hits that little hammer on your knee. It means other people control how you act. You react to other people. But Proud Boys, you guys have an opportunity to become something very, very honorable in this country. If you guys reined in the discipline and you stopped seeking revenge and you were very disciplined and only sought to self-defense and to protect an event's right to speech, don't throw the first punch, don't throw the first mace. And often you don't, but all that happens is like one little slip up, and then the media can tear you guys apart. But I think that you guys have the opportunity to become something amazing, because more and more Americans are realizing that the story that they're being told is it's BS. It's BS. But like, January 6th wasn't an example of discipline. That was an example of raw emotion and just letting people's reactionary impulses go wild. And it didn't work out for anybody. It's like 620 people arrested from the Capitol event so far. I wish they would seek the rioters to that extent. But anyways, I don't want to see, I'm tired of seeing the violence. I'm tired of seeing people die unnecessarily for political reasons. I'm not sure if anything's going to happen today, or if nothing's going to happen today, if it's going to stay peaceful or if it's going to stay violent. But just realize, those of you that are on the right, I understand. We got to stand up to this violence and this takeover of our rights. But do it smart, because there's more and more people going to jail, and that'll ruin your whole life. Like, a lot of people are going to have, we're moving into this internet age more and more and more, and people are Googling people's names more and more. People aren't going to be able to get jobs. You're not going to be able to feed your family. If you don't have a family yet, people are going to stay away from you, and you might not be able to form a family or a career or wealth. So be smart, you guys. Be disciplined. Be very, very disciplined. Don't react. Like, everybody sees who Antifa is. Well, there's how many journalists and citizen reporters have shown what they are over the last 5 years. Anybody that wants to know the truth knows who they are. Anybody doesn't want to know the truth, their opinion isn't valuable. But I don't want to see more people that I care about, that I find to be good, honorable men. I don't want to see them going to prison. We need to get organized. We need to be disciplined. We need to seek honor over victory. Victory would be nice too, but honor first. But so I know I'm giving this big old political rant right now, but I'm going to try to move more and more neutral. I'm going to try to move more and more towards my my neutral position. I'm a centrist. I'm a little right of center. But I'm tired of seeing the political violence. Anyways, so that's my rant. I think I've let out my crazy rant. So I'll look at the chat and see if anybody has any questions right now. First thing, I'm not going to declare the location, so please don't everybody ask me what the new location is. Find it from someone else. CD says, honor is for fools, those who've never faced real deep-rooted bad human beings. No, Valhalla, I disagree. Honor is one of the highest virtues, and if you die in honor, that's better than to live in dishonor. Snook says, not a rant, truth. Thank you. Yeah, Harold says, die in honor and live eternal. Like, we've lost that in our culture, that sense of honor. M. Robinson says, I'm a veteran and I'm ashamed of what Biden has done to this country. I fought and bled for people of Afghanistan and saw my brother die to protect them. Man, I'm really sorry to hear that. I know a lot of veterans have a lot of hard time dealing with what they agreed to do and questioning the morality of it after they leave the service, and that's why the veteran suicide number is so high. But this what's happening in Afghanistan is just a slap in the face to the Afghani people, to the American citizens that are working there and trapped there, the soldiers that spent decades fighting there. Biden should be removed from office for that, if nothing else. But yeah, Kong wants to know how old I am. It's very, very secret. It's top secret. I'm a vet, pissed off of Biden. Most people should be pissed off of Biden right now. But I'm asking you guys to question, if you're involved in a group or you have a really strong political affiliation, you have a really strong like extreme views on like back to blue or all cops are bad or America is perfect or America is horrible. I'm asking you to like look into these things and question your foundations, and come to a balance between realities. Like, yeah, there's a lot of cops that abuse their positions of authority and trample on people's rights. But at the same time, do you really think we can have a large country with metropolis cities and multiculturalism where not everybody holds the same values without a trained enforcement group that spend their full-time job is protecting and keeping the peace and protecting citizens from violent men? To think that we could just get rid of the police, you don't think M13 and the cartels are going to come and destroy this country if there was no police force? That's ludicrous. It's just as ludicrous as worshiping the police and looking the other way when they do horrible things. I got a guy jogging by me here. How you doing?
Good. What are you doing?
I'm just doing a little video. I probably creeped him out pretty good. Just looking through these chats. They're coming so fast I can't really read everything. You only need cops until evil, due to evil people. Training is very important for police and civilians alike. If police are evil, then the citizenry need to be able to fight back. Yeah, but the fact is that our societies are just too big and too diverse for us to have citizens policing themselves. Like, there needs to be a full-time defense force that is trained continually, and that's their full-time job. Like, if we had small town communities still, like, yeah, it'd be reasonable for the men in the community to police the community themselves, but it's just not practical in like major metropolitan areas. Yeah, ironically, Karen says, I back the blue. I'd rather live by the law of the land than the law of the jungle. And back to blue is it's like an extreme. It's like the Star Trek thing, or not Star Trek, Star Wars thing. Only Siths speak in absolutes. All right, I'm gonna get off of here and go get ready for today's events. If you guys are planning on going to an event today, if you're watching me, like, be safe, you guys. Be disciplined, be honorable, call the reason, like, really question like what the value of these events is doing. What value has the street brawls accomplished? I don't think it's accomplished anything. It's created outrage and people are more aware of what's going on, but I don't think it's Antifa's getting more and more brazen. They're getting away with more and more crimes. It's not that I'm saying what was done was wrong. What I'm saying, it's been ineffectual, and people need to find an effectual way to change what's happening to our country. I'm reading the chat here. If I get any good questions here, I'll respond, but I'm going to get off here in a second. Yeah, I'd also encourage people, I hope the Antifa doesn't show up to the event today, but if you're going to the event, bring a gas mask or something. Like, be prepared for mace. Like, do not let them come mace you and just ruin your ability to defend yourself and defend others. Be prepared to get maced in the face. I'll have my gas mask on. The comedian sends a $10 super chat. He says, authority allows two roles, the torturer and the torturer. Twist people into joyless mannequins that fear and hate, while culture plunges into the abyss. V for Vendetta. Stay safe, villain. Thanks, man. That's one of my favorite movies. Deanna Durkin says, keep being you, be true to your journey. You are questioning others while also questioning yourselves. It's what everyone should do. Thank you, Deanna. And then Deanna came up for the same thing again. I don't know if it looks like you sent it twice on accident, maybe. Thank you. Yeah, so I think that's all I have to say. All right, guys, the event is supposed to start at 2 o'clock. I will be at the event. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to stream or not. I'll film no matter what, but I'm not sure if I'm going to live stream it. I know there's other people that are definitely live streaming it. I'll decide that later. And everybody stay safe. And to the crowd of Americans on both sides, not just the right, left and the right, those of you that are appalled by what's happening in the country, and those of you appalled that's happening, what the country's people are doing in the country, what the violent rioters are doing in the country, left and right, those that love America, just remember that if you act to try to protect the country that you love and the society, remember not to become Antifa. Don't become the evil that you're trying to stop. A lot of people that are righteously fighting against the bad things that are happening today, they're getting carried away. And look at me in the last year. Look at how I've swung to and fro in my anger and frustration. And I think I seem to always calm back down eventually and come back to my roots. But a lot of people are experiencing that. A lot of people are getting carried away with their frustration and anger. And it's demoralizing. It's demoralizing seeing what the politicians and the rioters and the criminals are doing and getting away with it. It's very demoralizing. But let's not lose ourselves. Let's not become the monsters we're trying to destroy. All right, guys. Thanks for listening to my rant. The Villain Report is out.